Hello, this is Skylar from Dyed Red, and I'm here to talk about introversion and praise. Now, I am an introvert. I tend to be very outgoing, but I'm only that way toward my good friends and to people who I really like. I get very nervous when it comes to large social groups, and I will usually gravitate towards people I admire or people who I think I can trust. If I'm at a party, I will scan the room for a while and basically not distance myself, but keep engagement to a minimum so that I don't slip up or engage with someone who's not worth my time. And if I try and engage with too many people, well, that becomes a bit of a problem. And I'm not sure the exact ways in which introversion manifests in all the different aspects of life. My parents, for example, were always surprised at the seeming two versions of myself that would manifest. One, in daily life, I would have a book. I would be not very talkative to certain people, not necessarily shy. I can make friends. I can converse if there's a topic that we share. But I am very clear in my interactions with people what I think of them. I'm not a good liar, and I wear my emotions on my face pretty easily. So it's easy to tell if I'm faking. And even as a kid, I remember just having this natural inclination toward not engaging with certain people because I didn't like them or didn't have any reason to engage with them. That's one side. My parents were always surprised then whenever I would go on stage or perform and I would be a completely different person. I would bask in the spotlight. I would love the performance. And they've said that the minute I would come off, I would go from being LeFou from Beauty and the Beast, this outgoing, crazy, wild kind of character, to the person who is very reserved, who will say thank you, have a good night, smile, and then that's it. And because of that seeming divide, I always personally wondered if I had a self-esteem issue when it came to that, when it came to accepting people's praise, when it came to the seeming difference in my personality or how it manifests in doing what I love and interacting with people. And I'm not entirely sure of what introversion is psychologically, but that's not the point of this video. The point is that I mistook my own introversion and my own reserved nature as a lack of self-confidence or lack of self-esteem. Now, I have struggled with those things and still do. If I tell someone, I made a thing, here's a song, I hope you guys like it, that last statement isn't really necessary because I'm already sharing it, presumably in the hopes that you would like it. And that's kind of a barrier in a way, or a safeguard for maybe insecurity in some sense. I'm still working on that kind of a thing. I especially was unsure of my own confidence because when I would accept praise from someone after a performance, or a writing assignment, or a story, or the way I would act in a situation, or how I would genuinely be a good person to people, or avoid fighting with a bully, or the way I would handle something. Even if it wasn't perfect, I would still generally do the right thing. I always wondered, what's my deal? Why is it that when someone says, great job, I would say, oh, thank you, and say it like that? Now, I think that there's room for not judging your own extemporaneous responses to things. If someone says, wonderful job, and you say, thank you so much, or you say, oh, thank you, or thank you. None of those three responses should have any bearing on how you evaluate yourself, necessarily. They just come out. There might be a reason for them, but generally speaking, I tend to find I respond differently to people just because they're different people. What I'm focusing on when it comes to the response is saying something like, someone says, good job on that song, and I would say, oh, thank you. I didn't think it was the best, but no, that is an example of a lack of self-esteem or self-confidence, or perhaps regret, when the focus should be on the response to the praise. And so in recent times, I have tried my best to stop at thank you and move on, accept it, and let my own personal feelings of the situation, if I sang a bad note or wasn't feeling it that night, or who knows what, doesn't matter. And that led me to think that my own tendency to accept praise when it comes and be completely different from the person on stage is no indication of my own lack of self-worth or something like that. I think there's a misconception in a lot of objectivist circles, at least from what I've seen, that tend to equate a specific type of behavior for the man who loves his life, or the woman who loves her life, where they have to act a certain way in certain situations, a prescription, rather than a description, a prescribed mode of reacting or being, rather than just being. I think that's the most important thing about figuring out myself. Why am I an introvert? I don't know. I love deeply, and I cling deeply. And if I don't care, I neither love nor cling. And when it comes to praise and accepting it, I've always accepted it. And though I have suffered from self-esteem issues or confidence issues, feeling that I don't deserve such praise at times, it's always been a clash. It's never been, I don't deserve any of this. It's always been, I love it, but I'm also not feeling my best. So do I deserve it? When really, the second should fall. And it's never been an issue of the introversion at all. That's just how I am. I don't associate with too many people. I am not the party goer, and yet I am up for karaoke at any time. And I love it. I love every minute of it. Because it's what I enjoy. And on some level, I've always known that life is about caring about the things you care about. About finding what you love and committing to it. And the whole thing has just been a process of eliminating the doubt throughout time, of going and saying, okay, I love this thing, so I have to commit to it, and take out the non-committed things, the things I shouldn't care about, the personal feelings perhaps. I should focus on their reaction and say, it happened. And their reaction happened. And their response, and their praise or lack of it, is going to happen. And my reaction to it is going to as well. And how I react to it is important. But I think if you're an objectivist, and whether you're an extrovert or an introvert or whatever, I think the thing to think about is, if there's any hesitation of some kind, or some sort of manifestation of an emotion or a response that you can't quite grasp, I think if there's some lesson to be learned, it's that one's personality doesn't have too much an effect on whether or not you're a man or a woman of self-esteem or not, in terms of, the essential stuff. My introversion does not mean that I can't be an objectivist or a person who seeks values. And there is no one way to be that kind of person. There's no one particular way one has to speak or carry themselves. And the essential characteristics are only general things. speaking with confidence will manifest itself differently in different people because everyone is different, because everyone is a particular. And finding your particular way of manifesting those things, the responses to praise, the gaining of courage, and the removal of doubt, that's the key. Aye, there's the rub.